This week, I'm doing gyudon, and gyudon is basically like a Japanese-style beef stir-fry, and it's got this natural sweetness to it with the mirin and sake in the sauce. I'm going to serve this with a miso wakame soup and some rice on the side. It is indeed Wok Wednesday. I'm Jeremy from School of Wok in Covent Garden. You know the score. Let's get cooking. With a recipe like this, your gyudon, the rice is really important. So what you want to do with Japanese rice, wash it really well. So you want to wash it, get as much of that excess starch out from the rice as possible. Once you've washed it 5 or 6 times, the water to run clear. Cover it with a lid, bring it to a boil, and then down to a low heat, just so it's simmering away for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then switch the heat off once all the water has evaporated, and just leave it to steam in its own steam for another 15 minutes. For the miso or wakame seaweed soup, a small amount of wakame here, which I pour hot water into, but after about sort of 10-15 minutes, that seaweed will really open up. So I've got it in a relatively big bowl for the small amount of seaweed that I've got, and you can smell it straight away. A great sort of deep, savoury, salty, naturally salty flavour. Your miso, that is going to go straight into my chicken stock, bring that to a boil on a medium heat. The rest is really easy. Get all the bits and bobs ready for your sauce, for your stir fry. You just want to finely chop your ginger. Same with the garlic. Your spring onion, finely sliced into rings, just for garnish at the end. And then the rest, just in sort of 1 centimetre chunks will do. And that can go in along with your ginger and garlic. Got a super large onion, classic School of Wok style. Everything's giant. Maybe it's just because I'm small. I quite like it in wedges, not too thin. I'm just gonna pop that onion 12 o'clock on my little mini wok clock there, ready for my stir fry. And then I've just got my beef to slice. So I've got some ribeye steak here. Ribeye is great for this because it's got a nice little bit of marbling in it, lots of flavour in that. And I want nice strips of beef. That onion has really got me. Guys, if you have any tips and tricks on how to not cry when you're cutting your onions, I'd love them. Give those a bash, and that will help tenderize the meat, but also allow me to sort of sear that beef nicely in the wok. And then lastly, you're just gonna make up your sauce. You've got some sake, some mirin, which has a slight sweetness, a little bit more almost syrupy than to sake. Some light soy or tamari, Japanese light soy, and then some honey. This is really simple Japanese home cooking. The type of thing that actually I used to, when I was a kid, sort of swap out my fried rice that my mum, bless her, would make for my lunches and my lunchbox. And I'd have a Japanese friend at school when I was in Singapore who'd bring things like gyudon. Oh, it was so lovely to be able to try new foods like this. Now you could just throw everything into the wok, or if you want to get a little bit of colour around the meat, then I'd recommend searing your meat first. Make sure your wok's on a really high heat, and then we're going to start to get your pieces of meat in. And just pushing them through the wok so that they separate out nicely, all the while on a high heat. So once you've seared the meat around the edges, then what I try to do is move all the meat around to the side of the wok. Add a bit more oil to the base, and then start to bring in your onions and your garlic and ginger and go around your little mini wok clock. So my onions are going in, give those a little sear through. Bring your ginger and garlic into that as well. Bring your beef now over the top so it doesn't sort of overcook. And those onions, you'll smell those onions sort of searing nicely on the base of that wok on that high heat. I don't mind if they get a little bit of a char. Spring onions have gone in as well, apart from the finely chopped stuff. And then when you've got this nice smoking hot temperature around the wok, then you want to pour your sauce around the edge of that. Let that come to a vigorous boil. Once vigorously boiling, give that a fold through. You can see this lovely colour that that sort of high heat has done to the onions. And that mirin and the sake will start to caramelise quite soon around the meat. I like cooking it this way so that the onions don't sort of get too wilted, but they sort of bring out the natural sweetness from that quick sear. Don't want to overcook my beef, but we have got a little bit of miso soup nearby, so I'm just going to use a little ladle of that stock around just to add a bit more sauce to this stir fry. And then once vigorously boiling, switch it off. You want a good base of rice. And then your stir fry beef, your gyudon, over the top. And that little bit of colour there around the piece of beef is that from that initial sear. And then we've got an egg. And what that does is that just before eating, if you break that egg yolk, it'll just sort of create a lovely, almost silky texture around the beef. You must put it on when the beef is piping hot. My soup on the side, I can just take some of this wakame, this seaweed, and then my miso soup, which literally was just fresh chicken stock, which we have in cubes in our freezer at School of Wok, and some miso. No salt, nothing like that, because the miso's got loads of salt and flavour in there already. Gyudon with my wakame soup. So you're gonna crack that yolk, give that a good mix through with all that lovely meat. Nice savoury flavour. And that miso soup, really nice, light and fresh, and can kind of pour a bit of soup in whilst you're eating and just sort of dig into it more and more. Very Moorish, very simple. This to me, it's a simple sort of midweek meal. Let us know in the comments below what your favourite midweek meal is. But also more importantly, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell, tell all your friends, and help us grow the channel even more.